get back to that breaking news, that report from the Wall Street Journal that Qualcomm has approached Intel about a possible deal in recent days. Our John Fort joins me now. John, you certainly know this company as well as anybody does, and you know the somewhat precarious position that Intel has found itself in over the past few years and how it's tried to deal with this AI revolution and wanting to be a critical part of it. What do you think about this report you've heard?
Yeah, Scott, it is a tough spot that Intel's in. And I have reached out to Qualcomm. I haven't heard back. Did just get off the phone a few minutes ago with Patrick Moorhead, who's an analyst who I actually met when he was working for AMD. So he's up on chips and other things as well. Look, don't know whether or not this report pans out. But when I first saw the headline or heard about the headline, my reaction was, well, this is one of the few deals that could actually be allowed to happen, because Qualcomm not only has a market cap right now that is about roughly twice where Intel's is, it's also a big U.S. Chip industry player. Now, Qualcomm does not do chip manufacturing. Intel's manufacturing business is the big spot where it's having the difficulty and where it's pouring billions of dollars in. And then, of course, the U.S. government, through the CHIPS Act, has begun supporting that. They haven't delivered the money yet, but they have promised it. Qualcomm and Intel do compete in PC chips, but of course, Intel's a lot bigger in that space than Qualcomm is. Intel has a lot of business in data center. It's losing share there, but it's there. Qualcomm doesn't. So there's minimal overlap, but a lot of this, as Pat Moorhead was just saying to me on the phone, would depend from a regulatory perspective on how regulators define the market. But these are both domestic companies. They are champions in their own ways. Qualcomm initially on mobile technology, now expanding into automotive, IoT, and PCs. Intel squarely in PCs and somewhat data center, having trouble with that business and the manufacturing business. Both are focused on AI being the future, but doing that from slightly different perspectives. Again, Qualcomm more on mobile and industrial, and Intel really trying with its Gaudi chips to build up a competitor to NVIDIA. Also doing some of that on the PC side.
Here we have the current stock market update for Intel Corporation, stock ticker INTC. Before we begin with today's chart analysis, if you find these educational materials to be helpful in your trading, please remember to click the like and subscribe buttons and leave your thoughts below in the comment section so that other traders will be able to find this information more easily on the platform. So here we have some fairly major news here, and I don't want to get on my soapbox too much. I do want to try to focus on the chart itself, but this is a major development because this is one of the few companies, Qualcomm, that would be in a position to even just work with Intel and to sort of solidify and strengthen the underlying operations of the company. There are certain weaknesses in Qualcomm that are not being seen necessarily in Intel and vice versa. So it's not totally surprising here that we would be seeing this major jump like this in share prices. And, as I said, I don't want to get on my soapbox too much, but hopefully, in my view, this would possibly reduce the role of Pat Gelsinger in this company. And I do think that that's what needs to happen at this point. The share price destruction that has occurred under his watch is completely unacceptable. And it is time for change at that part of the company. So, let's just focus on the charts themselves here for a moment, because there are some interesting developments here as well. What we're starting to see, this price chart is intact completely. I have not changed anything based on the prior analysis video that was done for this stock. So as we can see here, what were we looking at? I mean, even this arrow is pointed in the same direction here, and the support zone is pointed here as well. So what do we have here? We do have some fundamental news that may or may not actually happen, by the way. I mean, let's not get too excited about this just quickly here, because this is something that could completely fall apart for Intel. This type of deal, this type of takeover from Qualcomm, even though they are in the position to do something like this, and I really do believe that this is what should be happening here. But let's just watch the charts here, because this is a fundamental news event, and it clearly is getting some positive reception here from the market. And where did we bounce from? What we were pointing to in the previous video was the combination here, the confluence between the 50% Fibonacci retracement of this move from 1850 to 2258, which came in right around this 2050 area. And then in addition to that, we also had this, these rising blue and purple lines here, which would be the 100 and 200 period exponential moving averages. So these were all coinciding right around the same area here. And as we can see, this was the ultimate launching pad for share prices. We did see prices really take off from this area. So from a technical perspective, from a chart perspective, what this does is now solidify this support zone, right around 2035 or so. So what this has now done is it's kept intact that $20 handle, and it does suggest now that roughly 2030 is going to be a major level of support now going forward. In addition to that, what we've done here is we've now broken above these highs at 2258, as we can see here. So this is also a positive development because we're finally starting to see some higher highs in this stock. We were previously seeing some higher lows. So this sort of, this completes the picture, so to speak, because now we're starting to see higher highs and higher lows. So this does start to now look like the development of an uptrend. And this could be some positive fundamental news that actually changes sentiment for this company and starts to, prevent share prices from moving into the single digits like some people seem to think is likely to occur. So, these are the types of discussions that need to be happening here. I do not see any reason for Pat Gelsinger to remain as CEO of this company. I think that he's had his chance. I think that he missed his opportunity. And now that we're starting to see some positive basing here in the share prices themselves, this is starting to look like a more secure, safer stock to enter back into at these lower levels. So we are starting to get some volatility here, as we can see. There is some two-way price movement here that's occurring in this area, but that would be largely largely expected with a news event like this, especially one that might not occur. So some two-way price action here would be expected, but traders should be careful here because what we're seeing, is an increased volatility set that is coming as share prices have now moved into overbought territory. So there could be some fireworks here for a bit, and it probably makes the most sense to wait for the dust to settle and probably wait for us to get a bit more information about whether or not a deal like this, a takeover like this, could actually come to fruition.
It was just this week, if I recall, I think at the beginning of the week, where Intel made the announcement of turning its foundry business, John, into a subsidiary and then taking outside funding. I mean, I guess that, you could tell me better, underscores how Pat Gelsinger and the management team at Intel are trying to be transformative for their own business as we move into the future here.
It does, and it also underscores the amount of pressure that Pat Gelsinger and Intel's board are under. Look, they were right about the demand for chips into the future and the need for domestic manufacturing. I think what they didn't see coming is the enormous success of NVIDIA and the shift of business away from CPUs, where Intel specializes, toward GPUs, where NVIDIA specializes. So as they're spending these tens of billions of dollars to stand up manufacturing capability to satisfy, that demand for domestic chips, for AI chips, their revenue is suffering on the other side at the same time. Pat Gelsinger also here on CNBC exclusively at the beginning of this week said they're trying to keep design and manufacturing together, even though they're structuring from a governance perspective the foundry business as a subsidiary within Intel. And I can tell you, a couple years ago when I held a gathering of some CEOs who I know pretty well, both Cristiano Amon, the CEO of Qualcomm, and Pat Gelsinger, the CEO of Intel, flew in, and really they wanted to talk to each other on the side during that gathering. That's part of the reason why they were there. And Qualcomm is one of the big potential customers for foundry, right? So they have a need to diversify their sourcing in chips, whether that is part of what would be attractive about Intel on top of the other IP Intel has. We don't know, Scott. At least I don't know.
Yeah, well, maybe they've been speaking, according to these reports, once again. John, I appreciate it. Thank you. You catch John, of course, in overtime in about 20 minutes. I'm sure he'll have more insight into this breaking story. The Wall Street Journal, once again, reporting that Qualcomm has approached Intel in recent days about a possible deal. You see Intel shares up 6-7%. We'll follow.
Our high-value trading strategies membership is currently available for a limited time for only $9.99 per month. These high-conviction investment strategies are characterized by superior risk-to-reward metrics that target massive, market-beating returns over time. Join now to outperform the market. Lock in this special introductory rate of just $9.99 per month for the entire lifetime of your membership and start trading stocks with the pros.